Right, it's been fascinating to be with engineers and people who are dealing with like the end product. So, but my part is from upstream. Let's get on. Yeah, so I was founding editor of Resource a long time ago magazine, and I got into to start understanding the waste management and recycling field. And then when the city started putting out their think twice two bag system, the light flashed in my head. I thought, okay, fine, I can bring the two together. So I started working as a subcontractor to the recycling companies who were going around picking up the dry separated recyclables, and I was then charged with doing the public education and behavior change for them. But it was quite it had to be a rigorous process in the sense that the City Council put penalties on the recyclers if they didn't reach 50% participation. So I then, look, advertising, I mean, you know, advertising industry, they put out wonderful kind of TV things and they hope that the sales will go up. Sometimes they do, sometimes there's not a lot of rigorous assessment of it. So I then did research around the world and started to see that those who are doing this kind of work were doing the work for governments in health, traffic, and all those other kinds of social change disciplines. And then I just transferred those into, and I started to understand how to use them and how to take them forward. So that has been that's what I've used. Richard talked about skill sets. So what has been happening, as we know, the skills sets have been changing. A lot of it still obviously is transport and logistics. But when the general kind of society and the environmental and the health conditions became such that there had to be a different way. So recycling started to happen. So the skill sets then became like human resource labor issues in the MRFs, and then engineering the MRFs as well. And then something about recycling economics. How do you trade and put them all together to take what were private materials into the public sphere with the municipalities, then back into the private sphere into recycling economics. So that then pushed it into the social science area, from engineering into the social science area, and behavior change and communication sciences are becoming far more prevalent now, because we are understanding that we have to change our culture and our ways of doing things. So this is the sort of things that I'm involved with. So one of them, I'm sure a good couple of you have seen this before, but it's this curve, which is the social diffusion of technology innovations, was developed in the 1930s by a guy who was selling agricultural equipment into farmers in the Midwest who are conservative people. And you know, you talk about the people in the house units. We've all come with different mindsets, and you'll get innovators. Those are the ones that get the apple eye. They right ahead. Then you get the early adopters. The early majority then comes through. Then it's the late majority, and the laggards will finally get a cell phone. So that's how it kind of happens. And there is a tipping point at which that if it is pushed hard enough, it will flow through. The technology will be adopted. Now I started applying that to how to design and implement the separation source things, and you would see that the deep greens were ready and waiting. There would be a spike in the amount of recyclables collected at the start, and it would drop a little, and it would be those people who had stocked their stuff in the garage. Then you'd have the early adopters, and the early majority said, "Look, great, I'm on for it, but let's make it easy for me, please." So the city council in its wisdom said, fine, we're just going to do 2 bags, free bag, and same-day collection. Those 3 factors were key in pushing to the early majority. The late majority are a funny bunch. What they do is they don't trust anything necessarily that the municipality or the body corporate chair people say. And they say, okay, show me it's working. If it's working, I will do it. But I'm not going to expend my time on something that's a possible failure. So feedback is needed. And then the laggards, well, I'll do it if everybody else does. So that's the kind of flow through of, and that applies directly to the communication strategy. So you align the message with a social demographic over time. And that's more or less, that's how I build the communication strategy. This also has an influence on budgeting and budget planning. The thing is to really push in the beginning. Push as all you can in the beginning, and then you get to your tipping point, and then you can drop your budgets. But you can see how it kind of flows. That's the way to do it. So if municipalities say no, it's a month thing, it doesn't work that way. You've got to push it up in the beginning, bulk it up, and then let it flow. So what is it about? What are some of the actual communication behavior change methods and tools? And these are research around the world. They're community-based social marketing. They call it social marketing. That's the discipline, because it's using the tools of commercial persuasion for social good. Ideally, you take a pilot, a representative sample of people. You say to them, look, we want to change we've got a client who wants to change behavior, or we want your behavior to change. Ask it, how should we do it? You guys know. So having research in the beginning is a method to bring on ownership of the solution as well. They then also become champions too, if you're lucky. But I also work in the private sector, and in companies, the way to do it is to send around internet questionnaires. Who wants to do recycling? Should we do it here? You immediately get some people who will say, yes, please, yes, please. They're great. You put them into a kind of a green group, and they then become your peer champions and diffusers of the thing. Leadership is very important. That's just a picture of, for example, of Drakenstein. I worked with Ronald Brown to introduce separation of source there. I said, please, let's get the mayor and the councillors on when the first collection of the program starts. Have them there. We'll put it in the pile post, and that works, because then it's also seen as driven strongly by leadership. I mentioned ensure easy, convenient participation. For example, part of the reason was a lot of people say yes, boss, to their authority. They respect authority. That's a trick to get them in. So basically, society is composed of all different personality types, and you've got to have communication ways and tools to get everybody involved. To go to the feedback, with your feedback, what is required? For those people, you need to be able to measure the performance metrics very well, so that you can say, hey, we're moving up to like almost 3 out of 4 homes, 2 out of 4 homes are taking it on. Obviously, the communications are important early. Get sorted for recycling. Now it's easy and free. That's a kind of a straight commercial offer, but I mean it's into that, and you get right up to all the early majority. Place prompts at the point of action. That's the sticker I devised in the very early stages. The starter pack, which we used with Waste Man for Heidelberg years ago. It was the first lot of bags, free bags, plus a flyer all about it, what you can and can't recycle, and then the fridge magnet. And I've been used with Saldanha, and offer pledges where possible. Anything that people can sign early on before they do it. They kind of they feel, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yes, I will. I've got that kind of promise themselves. So pledges are great. Tables at shopping centers and that sort of thing. And then I talked about ongoing positive feedback. See, this is a Longavon progress update. Period, there's a period, and here's what has been made into the recyclables, the amount of recyclables that the good citizens of Saldanha had done. So they can see, so you're giving them positive feedback because they're doing it for free. It's their involuntary time and energy that they are using. They need to get some sort of recognition for that. And so that's what it is. So you can see that the goal of it is to introduce a normative behavior. It's what we do around here. And that's when you get to your 50, 60, 70%. So that's the strategy that seems to work best. Here are some of the results. This is 2012. It's not easy to get these figures out of the city council. They need to go through the mayor and all that takes ages. But if you look at this, 67%, it's very good internationally. And there are 200,000 households are being given this free weekly collection, which is outstanding in South Africa. Luckily, City of Cape Town didn't have to get hamstrung by the collector cans and the impact offering residents their own bags. Now you've got one bag for paper and one bag for metal, and now you've got to do this. So the City of Cape Town came in with a clean sheet and was able to do this, and I think that's partially responsible for the high participation rates. Now I talked about the measurement. This is this is what the recycling, the recycling contracting obviously does it through weighbridges. But that's, there's a nice line. We started at 24%. Then we were up to that, and so in 8 months. We are on a nice trajectory. We should get about 40%, about 50%. This is the first year. Saldanha's doing it in a 3-year tranche. They're going to do, they've started their second year with 3 more towns. They'll do their St. Helena and Friedenberg be the last town. But it's all moving nicely because we've got a success story. It's crucial to help to put in positive stories, that it's a success, it's working, everybody's joining. That's key to people taking it on. What about the lower income areas? I mean, it's all very well to talk about the affluent areas who certainly put in a hell of a lot of good high value recyclables. That's fine. So that's where the main focus is for them. Swap shops do very well, and they have done very well, and they're great. Because they go to where the people are on a Wednesday afternoon, that happens. But this is a very interesting innovation which Polyco has done. They have got they've got a mobile trailer which they go on a Wednesday or a Friday. And what they did was they cleverly got together with the MasterCard card franchise, and they weigh, here they are, the bags. The bags come, they weigh the bags, they get them onto the system, and they can use that card anywhere that accepts a MasterCard payment. So it's gone even beyond just like airtime or a voucher to swap in the shop. It's really, really taking on big. So you can see the kind of, here's a diversion. That's 128 tons in 6 months or so, which is not bad. And it's really, really taking on. So that's an innovative way, a South African kind of innovation, which I think we should be proud of. Okay, let's just go a little bit broader now. I'll just now go through the barriers and drivers. Municipalities and contractors, they're under budgeted. It's a soft issue, and engineers don't quite understand it. So they don't often budget enough for it. And often they give communications people and design agencies who don't really get the big picture about communicating for social change. That R1.50 per family is what Anton Neyman at CSIR, he did a survey, and that's what he says is a reasonable budget per family per month. It's more complex to manage. And measure. There's a need for these sort of skills. Then you've got to deal with the waste pickers, who are an emerging. They're organising more and more, and they need to be taken care of. However, Johannesburg does have a bylaw. Pick It Up is contemplating implementing that in June. So what would then happen is that separation source becomes a grudge purchase for all those, the laggards, the late majority, And they possibly won't come on board, and your participation might stick there because it's a different kind of thing. It's a grudge thing. It's not a positive, environmentally friendly thing. So those are the kind of issues and tensions that will have to be looked at. And of course, Bonte didn't talk about what would happen, but it does appear that that the industry waste management plans will, in some way or another, start supporting municipal infrastructure and behavior change programs to optimize the throughput of valuable materials which can go through into the recycling economy to increase jobs and reduce and divert from landfill. In America, there's a recycling partnership and there is a closed loop foundation. These are big NGOs with brand owners, government grants, and a whole bunch of, it's a pool of funds of big money that goes directly to municipalities who put up their hands and say, yes, please, we want some help here, want some help here. That doesn't happen in South Africa yet. So these are PPPs, which could come out of the industrial waste management plans. We'll wait to see how they kind of work out. But I mean, that is a really, that's a really big opportunity to help divert from waste. I think that's it. Oh yeah, okay, just to revise. Skill sets are changing. There are a whole bunch of tools that can be used. There's a methodology which is used worldwide, well, at least in Australia, America, Canada, England, based on this. There are barriers, just underfunded, complex, misunderstood, but there are drivers which are more hopeful. Okay, that's me. Thank you.